Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one of the big concerns that many of us have with legislation of this type is that courts across the country have used it to establish public policy, and then certain judges have taken that and determined from that public policy that they're going to redefine the institution of marriage. And in considering this bill, I'm deeply troubled not only by what's in the bill, but where I believe this bill is leading us, and you don't have to take my word for it. A memo from the Marriage Law Project at Catholic University's Columbus School of Law noted this, quote, ENDA is about more than jobs. It's also about marriage. ENDA is based on the idea that state laws restricting marriage to the union of one man and one woman are a subterfuge for discrimination against homosexuals and bisexuals. If the courts accept the proposition that marriage is a subterfuge for discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, the Defense of Marriage Act will be struck down as unconstitutional. And that is the goal, Mr. Speaker. This legislation will ultimately allow activist judges across the country to redefine the institution of marriage. Now, the majority might say that's not their intent, but I guarantee that's exactly what will happen if ENDA passes as it is. If we don't vote to stop it, then we are tacitly allowing one of our most sacred institutions to be torn down. This legislation will provide certain activist judges with the legal justification to strike down state and federal marriage laws that define marriages between one man and one woman. State ENDA laws are being used by activist judges to impose same-sex marriage and civil unions on states. State courts are using ENDA and other similar laws to justify the argument that the government has no rational basis to continue discriminating in the area of marriage. And this is not something that might happen down the road. It's already happened in 3 states, Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Jersey. In Massachusetts, the Supreme Court there decided in Goodrich versus Department of Public Health that there was no rational basis for the denial of marriage to same-sex couples.
And members and staff will take their conversations off the floor. Members and staff in the aisles will please find seats or take off the floor. The gentleman from Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In that case, the court cited a list of state statutes, including non-discrimination laws, as evidence that the state should not discriminate in the area of marriage. The court's opinion laid it out clearly, writing, quote, Massachusetts has a strong affirmative policy of preventing discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. You can't get any clearer than that on how non-discrimination laws can be used to undermine marriage. However, even before the Massachusetts decision, the Supreme Court of Vermont in 1999 ordered the state legislature to pass either a same-sex marriage or civil union law. The Vermont court relied in part on the fact that the state had a law preventing discrimination based on sexual orientation. The court said it would be irrational and thus not meet the rational basis test to argue that the state could refuse to allow same-sex marriage or civil unions when they clearly already had a law prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. And most recently, New Jersey's courts have gotten into the game. In 2006, the New Jersey Supreme Court gave the state legislature 6 months to pass either a same-sex marriage law or a civil union law. In Lewis versus Harris, the court stated, New Jersey's legislature has been at the forefront of combating sexual orientation discrimination and advancing equality of treatment towards gays and lesbians. In 1992, through an amendment to the law against discrimination, New Jersey became the 5th state in the nation to prohibit discrimination on the basis of affectional or sexual orientation. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to ensure that this bill does not become the building block that some may want to use to destroy the institution of marriage. The motion simply says this, that nothing in this act can be used to construed to modify, limit, restrict, or in any way overturn any state or federal definition of marriage as between one man and one woman, including the use of this act as a legal predicate in litigation on the issue of marriage. On the wall in my office, I have a framed copy of the Declaration of Independence and the pictures of our founding fathers. This wall serves as a reminder of me of the ideals and institutions our country was founded on. Yet every day we see people trying to rewrite our history and tear down those ideals and institutions. This country is great because of the ideals of our founding fathers, but eventually if we chip away at enough of our values, we'll lose our foundation. This is what's happening and will continue to happen unless we stand up and make sure it doesn't. Marriage between a man and woman has been the cornerstone of strength in our country, and while it may be under attack from all sides, I believe it's an institution worth protecting. This motion allows us to take a stand for marriage for our country, and at least for today puts a stop to those that are trying or may try to use this legislation as a predicate to change those laws. This motion would ensure that the intention of this Congress are clear and unambiguous.
Gentleman's time has expired.
I yield back the balance of my time.